Speaking of making the work, Squatic finally making some inroads here on behalf of.
Absolutely gets in the back. Shadows.
Oh my god. Hello?
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 Uh-oh.
Hello?
Blur? Hello?
I don't think this time. They're not gonna get back in touch. Nobody's noticed, no?
33% to a bomb, but Meteor Sting with 4 ultimates of their own. This next fight.
They can follow up a little bit of aggressive ball. This protector could be used. I think this is everybody. He does!
The anti-nade came through, and as much as we saw, man, this is dirty. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Altian popping it on everyone. Long spawns and over.
Wow.
It looks like look at Kid Talks. Oh my god! For the triple. I need coming out. Terrible. Try and take up the second. Let's get it. Oh, here's a kill.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Raving Mad Gamers Last Man Standing PC International Overwatch Tournament. Tonight we have a great game on our hands, and before we get into that, I am your host Taryn Lloyd, joined with KK. KK, how excited are you for this game?
Hello, it's Taryn Lord. Hello, everybody in the stream. I am very excited for tonight's game. I think it is going to be a very interesting game that we're going to be watching. We are going to be watching OG Kintsugi versus the Randburg Fire Department, and I think it's going to be, I don't know how it's going to go, but we know that these teams have some stellar players in them, and so we're very excited to see what these teams are going to pull out of the hat this evening.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially from OG side, a team we haven't really gotten a chance to see a lot of. I mean, Metal State, they went up against Beastie Boys and had a pretty good showing there, going down 2-1. But now this time they're coming up against the winners of said Metal State tournament to beat Beastie Boys in a final. And I think we really want to see, can OG stand up to these top teams, especially in a best of 5, or I guess call it a first to 3, since technicalities and whatnot.
Yeah, I think honestly, because last time it was just a best of 1, it was basically based on maps. If the map favored you and what you guys were running, then you did really well. And so I feel like we didn't get an accurate showing of what these teams can actually bring to the table. And so I think that is what we're going to be seeing tonight. Is we're going to be seeing different maps. Obviously, the teams do have the map choices, and so we're going to see what they want to run and what they've been working on. And I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when you look at Randburg Fire Department, we'll get into the team shortly, but team made up of players who have been around for a long time. I mean, I think for a lot of people, when they come into the Overwatch scene and everyone talks about the top players, Randburg Fire Department, pretty much every single one of them comes up at some point. And
that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas on OG side, maybe you have that less so, especially there's a couple of names in there more of the fresh faces over compared to, the Randburg Fire Department team.
But I mean, we've been hearing stories recently of the Randburg Fire Department just coming together on a whim. And obviously we know that Kintsugi have been together for a bit longer than this team that was just kind of thrown together. They were like, yes, cool, we're going to enter this thing. So I'm interested to see whether it comes down to individual mechanical skill or whether the teamwork actually outweighs over that and comes out victorious.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, a discussion point that we have throughout the Metal State tournament especially was what is better, mechanical skill or team play? And there's a lot of different teams throughout our competitions that we are going to have those kind of games. I mean, and other teams that come to mind are obviously Aztec Gaming and Team Inferno, who are playing later tonight against each other. And like those are new teams that were brought up by the Chaos City Initiative just a week, not even a week, like 48 hours before RMG started. But as we look at Twitch chat's predictions, we do have a slight in favor of Randburg Fire Department as it starts, and I think so far, just purely based on recent results and the players in these teams, I'd say Randburg Fire Department are favored in this matchup.
I think they definitely are favored in this matchup, but at the same time, you said we haven't really seen what OG can bring to the table, and so I think OG, if their teamwork is on point and they know their comps and they know how to play against what Randburg are going to bring, then they will be absolutely fine, and I think we're going to have a very tight match on our hands.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to see that. No one wants to see these quick throws in bed before 9 kind of meme games. We want to see those games that potentially even go to 6 or 7 maps where you get the draws. You look at last night's match where it was only 5 maps in total, but it was a 3-1 series because there was that one draw.
Yeah, that one was a very close one. I mean, last night's games, if anything is to go by, you never really know what's going to happen until you're actually in the game and you're watching those players play. And yeah, so I think it's going to be a very exciting one. I guess we're just going to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, first of all, we got OG Kintsugi. We can take a look at their roster now. And KK, which of these players do you think stands out coming out of this roster?
So we've heard a lot about Zoom's main tank. I mean, he's played in the higher echelons of the Overwatch community, and so I think he is a standout player for Kintsugi. We all know Ontiablo's Tracer he is a stellar performer. He puts a lot of pressure onto the back line. Don't really know much about Lulu Bell and Alex personally, but we also know that Alvin Stair is a very good player on that off tank, always peeling for the back line and playing a very good Sigma. So I think, yeah, this is a very well put together team. And yeah, I guess we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think compared to the OG of last year, it's not as strong, especially with Damien Lulabelle. Not really anything against them, but the players that they're replacing are the likes of Authorize, of Erex and Slumpy. Those are big names, like big shoes to fill, and there are these newer players more coming from the quote-unquote weaker teams in our league, but they definitely have a point to prove, and I'm excited to see how well they do tonight. But moving on, over to Randburg Fire Department, we see those names, the likes of Condi and Dizzy on tank. Obviously, Condi not really well known for his main tank. He's more the hit scan DPS player, but really showing how good of a player he is, flexing onto those different roles and playing in those EU teams is a standout player and probably the core to this roster, having played in these EU teams, understanding the meta a bit more than these players who, as we said, are coming out of retirement. And then you look at the DPS lineup of 20 and Aquatic, probably a bit of an awkward lineup in the sense that these are 2 hit scan DPS, but I can imagine both of them have the ability to flex onto your heroes like the Echo, like May if necessary. We obviously have to wait and see the heroes that they play, but no matter what heroes they play, 2 standout DPS. And then on the support role, you got Leica Luke and Gutbuster. Leica Luke, also a former DPS player, moved on to flex support for 80k last year, and arguably one of the best flex supports in the league. Yes, he has more of that DPS flex support playstyle. We're always ribbon players for that whenever DPS players play their flex support role, but definitely someone who can bring a lot to the table. And then Gutbuster, I'd say out of the 6 is the most unknown in this roster. Not someone we really have seen play, but all in all, you look at this roster, and outside of Condi and Aquatic, you've got 4 members from 80k who were our champions of last year, and you've got to know that there's a lot that it takes to win a tournament. It's not just your mechanical skill, it's not just how you play as a team, but it's your mental game as well. Mental game plays a huge part in this, and having been to that higher depth of winning a tournament, it helps a lot when you're dealing with tougher situations.
I completely agree. I mean, as you said, Condi is basically the shot caller. He knows the game inside and out. He's been playing. He is definitely well versed in the Overwatch scene. So I'm very excited to see what kind of comps they're going to be bringing out, whether they're going to be kind of matching, the ball Sigma that we know Kintsugi is so good at playing, or whether they're going to be playing a completely different composition, obviously with 20 and Aquatic both being hit scans. So I think it is going to be very, very interesting what heroes they're going to run tonight. So I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm very excited for this game.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think you're moving into the map set. We've got Oasis coming up as our first map. A map that kind of offers a little bit of everything. You've got your city center, you've got your gardens and your university. And I think I'd be excited to see what teams can bring out on those maps.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, because it's a control point map, it's always interesting to see what team takes it off and basically sets off on the stronger starting foot. So I think it's just all about taking those comps to the specific maps that they're going to be playing on and see what kind of things they run against each other. So yeah, we're going to hop right into Oasis.
Yeah, then Oasis, a map that I think everyone knows about at this point, it's been in the game for a while. And the first map we are going to head to on Oasis is University, a map that we're very likely to see brawl, but I'm not 100% sure. You know, as we said, these teams could bring out anything. And we were just sitting here waiting, you know, for those assemble heroes to see what comps these teams are going to play. I think, you know, OG is a team we're likely to see more of the standard play.
That's true. I mean, Randburg Fire Department, they have their specific heroes that they like to play. And so we're going to see if they're running the standard compositions. So we can see they're actually coming out with the well, we say general brawl. As I was going to comment on the Anna, like Luke has switched over to the map. So that's absolutely fine. So yeah, they're running very similar compositions. The only difference is obviously the on Diablo is on Sim. He's probably going to TP them out of base and then switch over to that Tracer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, very likely. Could also potentially see a McCree as well. But you know, brawl versus brawl comp that everyone loves to see, and you know, it's kind of everyone just smashes their faces into each other. But so far we've seen slightly different rotations, but now players seem to be matching up on points. OG do have the positional advantage, taking control of the points first of all, but especially with that Mei, it's going to be a lot easier for them to maintain that control. Just seeing them poking around, waiting for that wall to come. Immortality does come out from Alex first. It is go down. Charge from Kandi does get a pick. This is huge. Counter charge from Soup gets another pick. It's even fight. Still can go either way, but having that Mei helps so a lot. But now Antiabo finding that pick means that this is just starting to become even fight, but OG have the advantage and looks like they're going to press that with Randburg fight. Do bring it back though, and now with Kandi coming back in, it seems to be in their favor, but still picks trading back and forth. Immortality once again from Alex. Window out already. Very quick build time. He's still trading back and forth, but overall, OG do come out on top.
Oh my goodness, that was an absolutely chaotic fight. As we saw, there were just fights going left, right, and center. There were picks coming out. And this just shows, like, even in Brawl now, when you have mechanical skills such as both of these teams can demonstrate, you never know what team is going to come out on top until the fight is actually done and they've capped that point.
Yeah, now we see Aquatic has switched on over to that soldier. A little more spam damage and less backline pressure, so he's looking to break the shields, but Grav comes out from Oven Slayer. Shadow from Kondi is huge. Immortality from both sides, keeps both sides alive. Swim misses the Shadow. Bomb and High Noon comes out, and this seems to be a fight that's going to be well in favor of Randburg, the fire department.
Yes, it's just a clear up now for Randburg Fire Department, as they just needed to get rid of that Mei. Auntie gets a pick in the backline though on Gutbuster, so that's a bit unfortunate. They won't have their speed. But we can see a lot of ults were used in that fight. There was Bomb and Shatter, and there was also Grav thrown out. Oh, 20 taken out on Diablo there, so it was a bit of an unfortunate situation. They're going to have to regroup. But yeah, so I think we're going to, it's all going to come down to the Mei using her ult this fight for Kintsugi, as Damien gets a pick on Aquatic, and then yeah, we're going to be looking towards the, as I was going to say, yeah, the window and also the beat.
Yeah, no, it's already straight away into this fight. Ults coming out from OG, they do get the first pick. They are still up 1 in this fight. 5v4 should be their advantage, especially, you know, with that Reinhardt going down in Kandi. Window comes out once again from Alex. Nice good zoning potential. 20 does get picks in the backline. This gives Randburg Fire Department a chance to this fight, especially with the points still in their favor. They can stall this out and gain a bit more additional percent. Shadow comes out from Kandi, already gets really well. Gets Elvin Slayer as well, and Room, huge plays coming out of Kandi, and they're going to be able to keep the control of this point.
That was a huge shatter that caught 3, and nobody was expecting that, so that was just a cleanup from Randburg Fire Department. We can see that Dizzy's halfway to his bomb. Aquatic almost has ult, so we're going to be looking towards that, and we're also going to be looking towards 20's High Noon. Damien hasn't had a chance to use his ult yet, so we're going to be looking at Swoom, Shatter, and Damien's Mei ult for this fight to see what they do with that.
Yeah, the OG speed and get the good Mei War and Kandi, but the disengage from Random Fire Department is really good. Both Immortalities come out, both DPS ults as well, and so far nothing to behold, but 20's ult really getting that zoning potential. There still is that Mei ult. Shatter comes in from Zoom Dance too, but unfortunately the HP bars from OG just aren't looking that good. they end up dying during the shatter, and Damien still holding on to that Mayhold means it's looking a bit rough so far as a start for OG.
Yeah, I don't think anybody gets to touch, and that is the objective secured. That was a very good shatter, but unfortunately it just didn't catch everybody that they needed to, and by the time that he did shatter, their numbers were too low, and their HP pools, as you said, were also far too low to be able to get those picks to flip that point. So that is 1-0 to Randburg Fire Department.
Yeah, and we saw like a bit of that scrappy fight to start us off, but then it seemed to just be in Randburg Fire Department's favor overall when it came down to more of the scrappy fights. Yes, they won that first fight, but then once they got control of point, it was a bit easier for them. And I think from OG's side, maybe a bit more tightening up needs to come.
Yeah, and I would like to see them using their ults a bit more proactively. You saw Randburg Fire Department using their ults first, and honestly, that was the winning. That was how they won so many team fights before OG could do anything.
And we starting to see a bit of change up coming from OG here. We've got Alvin Slayer on the Sigma, Damien on the Hanzo. Little bit of difference. I think these are more comfort heroes for these two. Obviously, they're still very well versed on the Zarya and the Hanzo, but pick already comes on Diablo. Randburg Fire Department with the advantage. Charge onto Zoom means that he's very likely going to die, and Lulubao off the map. Another secure fight for Randburg Fire Department.
That was a very quick cleanup. All of a sudden, there was one pick, and then there were 5, and then Alvin Slayer was like, "Nope, I'm out of here." So no, that was a very, very clean initiate. We do see, yes, that definitely looks like more comfort picks on the side of OG, but I don't know how well it's going to basically measure up to Aquatic and 20, both playing on hit scan players, which we know they are very well adept in.
Yeah, and then you've got more of the slower players start coming out of OG, but playing against a double hit scan setup is going to be a bit harder to go in. With Zoom coming in, doesn't really have that Maywall this time to support him, but they do get a bit of space. Windows come out from both sides. Shadow from Condi lands on 3. That's Alvin Slayer down already, and it's going to be another cleanup fight for Randburg Fire Department.
And I don't know if you saw that Aquatic was just putting in damage from the end. Let's see if he. Okay, good. The tactical crouch onto Diablo, but that's fine. So if you saw, the Aquatic was wrapping around the side, and he was taking off that off angle and just putting in that damage. And so when that shatter came out, OG honestly didn't have the HP pool to work with in order to carry on taking that fight, and so that's why they lost that.
Yeah, and we're going to see Dragons comes out from Damien, splits up the team. This is really nice loot. We see Bust in a bit of an awkward position, does get stunned up, does survive. OG now take control of the high ground. This is a position you want to be, but Visor comes out from Aquatic. Will he get anything? Doesn't seem like anything yet. Condi does get a pick onto Zoom already now, up in this fight. Dizzy does get remake, does bomb, but you have that. We won't see those remake kills later in the game, but Alvin Slayer goes down, Lulubao as well. Aquatic does die, but I think that's all in vain. Damien gets a pick, but it's a 2v5 situation, and they have to reset for this last fight.
And as you saw, Condi was on no HP, but unfortunately, just the way that they are playing this, they're being so aggressive onto the Sigma, and it's just the slower play is just not unfortunately working out for them because they're getting the picks beforehand. They're not able to get the picks with the Hanzo.
Flux and Shadow comes out as well as Window, and even though it's quite a decent flux from Alvin Slayer, the Shadow and Window just seems to be too much for Randburg Fire Department so far. They're getting the picks. Window comes out from Alex. He dies. No one left for OG to touch the point, and that's going to be Randburg Fire Department taking a pretty convincing 2-0 on Oasis.
I completely agree. That was very convincing. It looked kind of shaky in the beginning with OG taking that first fight, but when it came to map 2, even though they were playing the more comfort picks, you saw just the aggression and the hit scan players being able to hit their shots that just kind of took it away from OG. So yeah, that is a very convincing 2-0 lead. So it's going to be very interesting seeing what map we're going to go into next.
Yeah, no, and I think overall we've seen OG that there's a bit of holes in their play, but at the same time they can definitely bring us back. And we look to last night where you'd say the first map was probably more convincingly in Team Gaming's favor against Rage Quit Odyssey. So this is definitely not something they should be getting down the back. This is still a long way to go in the series. Even going down 2-0 doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose a series. So there's always those reverse sweeps that are on the card, and OG are a team that I'm pretty confident can do that.
Yeah, definitely. They just need to keep their mental strong and they need to just regroup, think about how they're going to be playing these next maps. Obviously, I think they do have the next map choice if I'm not incorrect there. Yeah, so we'll see what map they go into next and how they take this to Randburg Fire Department. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can just shake this one off because there were a lot of close fights. There were picks going both ways, both teams showing their mechanical skill, but just unfortunately Randburg came out on top in majority of them, and so they did take that 2-0.
Yeah, no, and next map we're going to see is Rialto. So this, I'd say, it's going to be a tough map for OG. When you look at Rialto, it's a map that I'd say probably favors more of your snipers, but I'd be interested to see who comes out on that Widowmaker from Randburg Fire Department, as well as if we see that from OG as well.
Yeah, I think obviously we all know Rialto is very, very strong for those snipers, whether it be a Hanzo or an Ash or a Widow. And I mean, we've spoken about it already, but 20 and Aquatic both loving those hit scan heroes. So we'll have to see who comes out on top and whether they will play the Hanzo over the Widow, or what these teams are going to basically change up, or whether they're going to just carry on the path that they're going on with their hero picks, just to obviously play to their strengths. So yeah, Rialto is going to be an interesting one.
And so far we're seeing kind of the similar maps coming out from a lot of these teams. I mean, I think Rialto probably not the favorite escort map for teams, but definitely a map that everyone loves to play. And then Oasis as well. Then potentially maybe next map cheeky Kings Row, good old Scrims Row. Maybe we'll see that change up. But I think so far so good for Randburg Fire Department. They're doing what they need to, maybe not the most conventional of comps where they're running the brawl setup, but with 2 hit scans, somewhere which I think you speak to a lot of teams and they say double hit scans not ideal. But Randburg Fire Department really, I think, playing it to their strengths at the end of the day.
Oh, definitely. So we're going to be hopping into Rialto now, so we'll be able to basically see what these teams are going to run. I would like to see OG come out with that ball and with that Sigma, just kind of trying to disrupt the lineup of the DPS and the back line of Randburg Fire Department. But yeah, we will see.
Yeah, and definitely a map, as we mentioned, a map that tends to favor the snipers, potentially a fire pick as well, a map that I think fire players have always enjoyed, space. Also Lucio players, on this bridge, a lot of boot potential. You ask players like Zlade, like Tux, those kind of Reddit Lucios, they love this map. They love just taking to the skies. But so far, neither team really coming out with that Lucio. I think it's not really a surprise, a map that you don't really see Brawl on very often, and that's generally the comp you see Lucio played with it. It seems to be more of the spam setup with Yorissa Sigma, the BAP Mercy and Soldier Ash, my apologies, against the nowadays dive with your Winston Zarya, Echo Tracer, and on the Mercy.
I'm kind of worried about this pick of the Echo. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, Aquatic and 20 both being on those hit scans. I don't know how that Echo is going to get value. But I guess we will see if the Echo can get some of those picks off with those stickies, because we know how strong she is at the moment, or whether she's going to go back and change.
Yeah, I mean, just like so far, we're looking to see a bit of poke coming out from both teams, mainly on the side of Randburg Fire Department. Zoom does go a bit deep, does force out the immortality field, but at the end of the day, he ends up getting picked off, goes out of LOS of his honor. His honor dies as well, and isn't able to get too much value. You're looking from this comp to be a bit slower pace, where your Winston and your honor build up quite a bit of ult charge from that first dive.
Yeah, definitely, and also you want your Zarya to be able to get those bubbles off. But if you're diving in and you're just dying, you see like a Luke gets a pick on Damien then, and Zoom gets dizzy. So at least that's a trade on their side.
It is a bit of a better trade, on attack you do favor the attackers on first point when they do get these trades. Zoom is coming up on that primal, so that's something we might be seeing very shortly, but kindly holding this corner really well, not really allowing OG any free space. This is really good. The Sigma is slowly coming back, and with that, a lot of pressure is going to be. So Zoom does dive in, looking for that Primal Rage. Hasn't got it yet, but should be able to get it very shortly. If not on this dive, the next one. Does dive into the backline, gets the Mercy. Now he follows up on the Baptiste. There's no immortality from the Bap. Both supports down now for Rambo Fire Department, and OG have now broken Rambo Fire Department's defense.
Oh, that was very, very good. I don't know about the Primal there, I'm not going to lie to you, because they had already got 4 picks. But it was a zoning ult, and they should be able to... I don't know if they're going to be able to get a recontest on Randburg Fire Department, but I like the change to the Genji. It provides a bit more against the hit scan lineup.
Yeah, but we do see Bob does come out to his payload, so payload's not going to go any further. Damien does go down, Visor not coming out from Aquatic, gets in at the pick, so 2 picks now in the favor of Rambo Fire Department. They do get the hold on to first point, and this is never a position you want the payload to end if you're OG.
Oh no, it is a very unfortunate position. Nobody who plays on this map likes this position because there are so many high grounds, there's so many areas you need to clear, and then you need to go into that tight choke, especially against a spam setup like the Orisa Sigma, with Aquatic and 20 spamming from different angles. It's going to be a very difficult dive to get off successfully.
And we do see Zoom dive in, but Alex is already down, going to make Zoom's dive a bit harder. They do have a potential res from Lulabelle. She hasn't looked to go for it just yet, but there is a bit of stabilize. Yes, they don't have that. Grav does come out from OG. It's quite a big Grav, gets 3 members. There's no immortality field. They do get the picks off, and a really good retake from OG, despite not having the honor. Elvin Slayer saw the potential for the Grav and took it.
I really like that combo that those two threw together, where it was the Grav and then the Pulse Bomb just to get that extra damage in. Oh, but we can see here Zoom's already picked off because a lot of those players got the close spawn.
Yeah, and you know, this isn't going to be too terrible for OG. They do also get the pick on 20, so that means that they even out. They're able to get some card pressure. They do have their Nano Blade coming up, and there's not going to be anything to me. There's no Bob from 20 anymore. He has switched over to that, but there is the Flux, so that is the biggest worry. But we do see Zoom diving in, looking for that backline. He does have the Primal if he wants to engage, and that's what he does. Nano Blade does come out, does get a pick onto Aquatic. Flux catches Damien, but not before 2 picks go out, and this should be a fight win for OG. Pick does come onto Damien, but that is raised up, and the chance for a res for Gutbuster is now he's down, and now OG keep the cart moving.
Oh, that is an ult from the Orisa. That was a very interesting one from Condi when that fight. Yeah, I don't know what that was, unfortunately.
To be honest, I think it's probably a switch. We do see a recontest coming out from Random Fire Department. They do get the pick into Damien. Zoom comes back on the Wrecking Ball after getting picked off, and there seems to be a stabilization coming out from Randburg Fire Department. They kind of got a bit distracted. They do get the pick on 20, but with Condi back, it's going to be a lot harder to take this fight with the Zarya quite far pushed up. The Ryan's still quite healthy, and their Torb applying a lot of pressure into the backhand. Grav does come out from Elvin Slayer. No real follow-up onto it. Damien does come in right at the end, but Zoom gets picked off, and now with no main tank, a lot of low HP targets on the side of OG. I think this is where their push is going to end for this attack.
Yeah, I think honestly I would just call a reset here. Let's see if Lulubal gets out. She should be fine. Never mind. No, unfortunately not. That was 20 just chasing that kill. We do see that Dizzy is out of mech, but he should get that soon unless he goes for the remech kill, because we all know the D.Va changes with the mech. But I really like this change. The switch to the Reinhardt and the switch to the Torb. I think it's going to be able to put a lot more pressure, and we actually see OG now switching their composition as well to similarly match this.
Yeah, we are going to see that Brawl Mirror once again, obviously slightly different comps. Torb does come out, he has a very good job of zoning. No picks come through for the side of Rambo Fire Department, but they make sure they maintain this high ground. Such a key element to this map. A map that when we used to see goats back in the day, teams just struggled to push through here. Now we are going to see Nana comes onto Zoom. In that tight choke, that's get a huge swing up into Rambo Fire Department. Condi does go down. Nana comes onto the Torbjorn. They do get the pick on Damien, but it seems to be a fight that's slowly swinging in OG's favor. As I say, that 20 does get the pick onto Alex. That is the main source of heals down, but overall it seems that OG are coming on top. Anti-Nate does come out quite big, able to keep Condi up alive, and now Stabilize coming from Rambo Fire Department. So these fights are being a bit difficult to call, especially when you get to the brawl fights. Picks going either way, but ultimately, Randburg Fire Department just getting enough picks to stabilize.
Yeah, and as we are coming into the last fight territory now, we see that Randburg Fire Department, they're coming into ults evenly, so we just need to see which team uses those ults better.
Yeah, and we see Shadow coming from Zoom, does land into Dizzy, but nothing from Kandi Shadow. Big Grav comes out with High Noon, gets absolutely nothing so far. Gutbuster does go down, 20 gets his own trade back, but we're seeing OG so far up in this fight. It's a 5v3 essentially with Dizzy out of mech. Torb Alt does come out from Aquatic, does cover quite a bit of the point. Dizzy goes down, Lulabelle very low, Elven Slayer dies. Beat comes out, this should be able to sustain him through, but with Torb Alt on point, it's going to be very difficult to push. And with that, slowly but surely, OG's players are starting to dwindle, and Nano comes out on Aquatic once again, potentially looking for the hammer kill in the backline, but once again, a cleanup from Randburg Fire Department, and they're going to stop OG in their tracks.
Yeah, as we saw there were so many times where OG Kintsugi was up 1 or 2 heroes, and then unfortunately either they just couldn't push their advantage, or the trades just came the other way, either with ults or just with the hit scan potential and the picks, and so they just unfortunately were not able to cap that point. But it was that was a very, very interesting fight there. There was just ults coming in both ways. I really like the switch that Randburg Fire Department did. Interesting to see Aquatic on the Torbjorn, but I think it really paid off for them at the end, where the OG Kintsugi, as soon as they touched point, because it was overtime, they were just melted by that Torb ult.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing I think. It's probably one of the most undervalued element of that Torb ult is just the amount of zoning potential it has. You know, you step in it for a second, and that's a lot of damage to anything, even if you're a tank. And I think so far we've seen the way Aquatic used it. He's used it in a really good way. But signs of life coming out of OG, some really good fights there, and I think, on that second point, it came down to maybe the Alex getting picked off in that backline, so they didn't have enough to sustain. Whereas Leica Luke seemed to stay alive for quite some time. But we are going to see now the brawl mirror, where it seems to be brawl mirrors this time. Antiablo on that Ashe, Damien on the Hanzo. We are seeing the Mercy, so no Lucio, and Elven Slayer on the Sigma. So again, more of that poke brawl coming out of OG versus a double hit scan setup. A slightly more traditional brawl with the Ryan Diva, but the Widow Kree is not exactly the heroes that you see generally with brawl. But so far, card is slowly but surely moving. But OG, this is intentional. They don't want to contest too early. They are playing a bit more of a perk, so them taking the ball too early. And Antiablo does get that first pick. That's really key. There is no res on the side of Randburg Fire Department, so OG have the advantage in this fight. And the damage boost on the Ashe is going to put out a lot of damage. And on this map is, it's a tell us all this time, which is stronger, Widow or Ashe, and so far, Antiablo getting that first pick. But as I say that, Aquatic and the Mercy, and this opens up a lot for Randburg Fire Department, and as that happens, they just speed on to OG. It's going to be very difficult. Immortality comes out, they all get booped out by that charge, and with Zoom and Alex going down, and furthermore, now the DPS, this looks like it's going to be first point secured for Randburg Fire Department.
Yeah, you see in the beginning their Aquatic got picked off, but then he came right back and he took out their Mercy, and their Mercy is such a key element in getting their Ashe to be able to output that damage that the Widowmaker can do basically on her own.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think so far you just see that while they had the Mercy, Mercy getting picked, it's kind of disastrous. You all contingent on your Ashe Hanzo getting a lot of value, but if your Mercy's getting picked off, that means you don't have your speed before you run. Shadow does come out from Kandi. Nana comes up, but gonna be pretty much useless because Kandi ends up falling onto the low ground. So, but at the moment they are getting card push, so it's not the worst thing. They do get a lot of value. Another pick from Antiablo onto Aquatic. So far we're seeing that you'll come out and Zoom lands a big Shadow. This should be a nice cleanup coming out of OG.
Oh, that was really nicely played. You see Antiablo taking that angle to make sure that he's basically matching Aquatic in the damage that he's putting out. You see Dizzy just jumping off the map. They're just calling a reset. But obviously we're going to come in and see the Diva ult. We're going to be looking at 20's ult and Gutbuster to see what he can do, especially against that Sigma ult and the Hanzo ult that are going to should be coming out this fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's something to keep an eye on is how well Diablo keeps Aquatic in check. But Sice comes out to start of this fight. 20 gets a pick onto Alex. That's a big pick. That's the main heal's down now for OG. Boop comes out. Dragons from Damien, but it doesn't seem to be enough. They do get the pick onto Condi, but they're still down in this fight. And Gutbuster does end up using that beat rather more aggressively. And what kind of turns out is OG who end up winning this fight. The Bob kind of coming in clutch. I think the Dragons, while on face value, didn't seem to get too much. It split up Randburg fire department just enough.
Yeah, it split them up really well, and then obviously they were able to push that advantage, especially using that high ground in that room. You see Diablo is still cleaning up Aquatic, so that's going to be a bit of a stagger on their end. But we haven't seen the we can still see the bomb. We also see Aquatic switching from Farah to Hanzo, so he's going to try to match Damien and Diablo on that now instead of the Widowmaker.
Yeah, I think that's probably a preferable option. Widow going against 2 hit scans, in quote unquote, with Hanzo being more of a projectile, but going against 2 snipers is going to be very difficult for one Widow. But we see 20 get picked off already when the window goes down. Elvenslayer going a nice little flank here. He does need to be careful. Doesn't want to get booped off. And well, Conti takes the first one. That does go down as well. So back and forth trade so far, but favoring OG. And especially with Lucky Luke getting called out, this is going to mean a nice little stagger onto that honor.
Yeah, Zoom dropped very low there, and I was quite worried for his health bar, but it's alright. He killed like Luke, and yeah, that is going to be a stagger. But we saw there Condi taking out Elvenslayer into the river with him. They went for a nice dive. So yeah, that was a funny one. One for the clips.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're going to see Bomb and Flux come out. Bomb does actually catch out Elvenslayer, so this is going to be a pick for Randburg Fire Department. There is still that potential res. Big Anti comes out, Nano coming in. Aquatic is going Damien getting 2 picks, getting OG back in this fight, but it just seems that despite Damien's heroics, it's just not enough.
Unfortunately, those were some very clutch kills, but because he had his front line that had just been decimated, unfortunately, when Alvin went up for his ult, then Dizzy knew exactly when to place the bomb and where to place it, and so Alvin just popped to that, and so their front line just melted.
We're going to see a pick does come out now from Damien. 5v, 2 picks from Damien, really kind of putting on their performance now. As we mentioned earlier, someone who we're not too sure about, but coming out big in these last 2 fights. Shatter from Zoom as well. This is going to be a nice little cleanup. Maybe not needed, but it guarantees those picks do come out for OG and the stagger onto Dizzy as well. But we're seeing some clutch plays from Hanzo. Maybe not a mini tech moment just yet, but there's still that potential.
It definitely has potential. I completely agree. Damien has been popping off, getting those headshots that he really needs to in order to basically alleviate some of that pressure that the other Hanzo is putting on their front line. You can see Aquatic has switched over to Pharaoh to try and get that spam damage in now.
Yeah, and it's going to be without the Mercy, so he's not going to have that assistance, but there is obviously that beat from Gutbuster, probably keeping it that way. Window does come out, zones a bit, doesn't really get too much value. We're going to see Randburg Fire Department start rotating towards Card. But Nana comes out onto Condi. He gets a pick onto Elvenslayer. Dragons once again from Damien. Gets a pick off. Shadow comes out from Condi in the backline. Ends up coming out huge. And it seems that Randburg Fire Department, while all is said and done, will get the cleanup in this final fight.
It's just unfortunate. But we still see that there is a ball on payload and he is stalling.
Where does he go?
Unfortunate.
Wait.
He was just, let's just say he was yeeted off point at that moment. But yeah, we see Randburg Fire Department taking a second win over OG Kintsugi.
Yeah, that was a lot better. I think we see from OG. This came down to that final fight, and I'm really happy to see that this isn't just that 3-0 sweep that we were expecting. Yes, it might end up that way, but these maps are a lot closer. This came down to maybe those 1 or 2 extra picks on either side. You look at OG's attack. Had they got 1 or 2 picks, not lost a couple members, we could be saying this in the other direction.
Yeah, completely. I think that was just unfortunate the way that those team fights played out, where they were getting those picks and they were able to be aggressive until a certain point, and then because the players of Randburg Fire Department were just coming back onto point. They were able to stabilize really well, and yeah, so that is why we saw Randburg taking that map of OG.
Yeah, and going forward, as we mentioned earlier, we are going to see the fated King's Row. Scrims Row is known by many people throughout the Overwatch community, not just in South Africa. I think it's something that it's, even we were talking about it yesterday, and one conversation brought up that it's not just, how the map is designed by, a competitive sense, in terms of meta. It's more also aesthetically as well. You look at this map, and it's not a map that really, stares you in the face. It's like, it kind of puts you off in terms of, it's kind of simple, but simple in a good way.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, when we were having that conversation, we were just talking about how it is a very, very good map for teams to really show, how their teamwork is, but also for the individual teams to show what they can do. So the players with the May walls, with the certain picks, with the ultimates at certain points, we can really see it's not only just a team game, it is an individual player's game, and each team member has a chance to change that team fight. So I think this is going to be a very interesting one. Let's see if OG Kintsugi can bring this back so that Randburg Fire Department do not full sweep them 3-0.
Yeah, I think there's all the more power for them to do that. And I'd like to actually see Damien stay on the hunt a while. I'm someone who genuinely prefers the May in a lot of situations, being the quote-unquote May OTP. I suspect he's gotten a lot of value on the Hanzo. A hero that you don't generally see, paired with something like a McCree, but is doing really well for him. And we're going to see, once again, the Brawl Mirrors coming out with Aquatic starting off on that Tracer.
I think Aquatic can put a lot of pressure onto the back line of OG, so they're going to need to watch out for that. But I also really like this Hanzo pick. He can put a lot of pressure onto their shields, break that down. Oh, we see them being very aggressive and speeding onto the team immediately from the get-go.
We're going to see that fight come. Aquatic still on the back line looking for that pick. Immortality comes off from Alex, as well as like Luke. So that's traded from both sides. Neither really getting too much value so far. 20 going low as well as Condi. This is a bit of a dangerous situation for Randburg Fire Department, but nothing comes of it. OG rotate around, start to get a bit more of a positional advantage, and starting to force Randburg Fire Department back. Condi dropping low, his shield low as well. Quality gets picked off. It's a low pressure now down on the back line, means that they can focus purely on the front line. Window comes out from both sides. Pick from Condi onto Diablo, but he dies following suit. Dizzy gets demeched. Immortalities go down from both sides, but this should be a fight that OG should take.
They can stall it out for a little bit. You need to kill that baby diva. You do not want to get picked off by that remake. But we see there are still kills coming in, and they're still contesting the point.
Ooh, okay, a really good recontest coming out from Randburg Fire Department. Keeping their angles on the brawl. We had the flank from 20. Quite coming back on that Trace, as well as Leica Luke staying alive in that Baptiste. Man, he was just able to provide so much utility, so much healing, and also that damage that we joke about Bap being Soldier 76 but better. And a good stabilize coming out from Randburg Fire Department. They give away a tick and a half, but overall you can be very happy with that.
Yeah, I completely agree. That stabilization was clutch, but we see a lot of ults coming out already into this fight.
Yeah, big E coming from Dizzy as well as Shadow. This is OG back. Shadow does come out from Randburg Fire Department, and the Aquatic does now go down. Vantage does go to OG. B comes out from both sides, but Randburg Fire Department just getting a bit more value. I think I like that good hit today. Another shatter coming out of Condi. What? Okay. But
this man just shattered.
yeah, Slug comes out, misses everything. So eventually, that B coming out from Gutbuster that seemed to be a bit more aggressive works out in the end. Not having to use it to counter that Flux, but OG coming in with the slight advantage. They do get the picks and have that spawn advantage. High noon from Diablo would be good zoning. Bomb comes out for Dizzy. Immortality should stop it, but Diablo too far away does get picked off. Dizzy dies in the meantime. Alex gets picked off as well. Condi, once again, another charge. Trades going back and forth between these two teams, but once again, Randburg Fire Department coming out better.
And as you said, the Baptiste basically being like a Soldier 76, you saw there like a Luke got 2 picks, and so we can just see how much value that Bap is actually getting by just staying alive through the fights, the positioning, not really being pressured on the high ground where he is standing at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's something that we might need to see OG take advantage of. Aquatic does get low, doesn't get picked off. He's able to reset with his team, still putting on pressure in that backline. I think he's someone who's been underrated so far in this, but Damien getting that pick onto 20 once again. Damien, another pick. Can an OG follow up on this? They do get the window to start. Windows traded back and forth. Nothing has come over just yet. Shatter from Condi once again. Immortality to stabilize onto Zoom. Zoom is still low. They need to make sure that they keep that main tech alive. Shadow from Zoom is big. Antiablo dies in the backline, but I think the Shadow should be just enough for OG. As I say that though, Conti once again with this charge kill. I don't know where these come from. 20 comes back with a high noon, and on point it just seems that somehow, some way, Randburg Fire Department take the victory.
That was absolutely crazy. I have never seen a team defend like that before. Honestly, they were just, their positioning was exceptionally well played for like a Luke. He was just keeping that high ground, and every time that he was pressured, he would just drop down and jump back up, and that is the basically just a very good quality of Baptiste. But yeah, that I can't believe they full held. That is very, very well played by Randburg Fire Department. Unfortunately, OG Kintsugi just could not. They were getting the picks, they were getting the ults off first. Like I spoke in the first map, I wanted to see them doing that first. But unfortunately, just the way that Randburg were playing and just the random charges coming out from Condi, getting picks left, right, and center, and the fact that that man built 2 shatters, absolutely crazy. We can just see the strength that is coming out from the Reinhardt. We can see Aquatic on the Bastion. I don't know if he's going to stay on that, but at the same time, 20 is on Sim, and we have seen these meme compositions of Sim Bastion, so I don't know what this is going to turn into. I'm kind of worried there, but we can see OG running the long range snipers with their front line of the double shield, so we'll see how that goes for them.
Yeah, we might see that the fabled Bastion statue strat where you TP the Bastion onto that statue, and it seems to be that's what they're going with. Especially with that Sigma. Could be nice to give that extra bit of shield. You don't have to have your Reinhardt up there. Sigma just places a shield there when he TPs and then can drop down from there. TP does come out now. They're waving. TP out. Sigma goes up first. They do cancel the TP, so the Aquatic doesn't TP up to the high ground. Right now, kind of more Soldier 76ing this Bastion. They're kind of deciding what to do. I think they're looking for another TP, maybe have misplayed. They're cancelling that TP straight away. Now they do get the Bastion set up. Shield does go down, so it's not going to be that shield for him, but a lot of damage coming out onto Zoom. They do get the pick. Trades go back and forth. Res does come out from Lulubell. There isn't a res on the side of Randburg Fire Department, but ultimately, even though they seem to be coming out the worst of the way in this fight, they do get quite a bit of point percentage. Aquatic does come back, get that pick on Diablo. Could this swing the fight in the favor? And with Condi getting that pick, he does end up going down. OG should be able to stabilize from here.
Yeah, we hope that they can stabilize, because they just need almost a tick more. Unfortunately, they were not able to cap, as we can see, and there is somebody on point that they need to handle.
Yeah, Gutbuster does go down. Shadow comes out from Condi. Dragon zones out pretty much most of that value, but Alex going down means that trading back and forth. Condi does die. The main tank on the side of OG is Zoom, so less more of that stable front line that you see. There's something like the Reinhardt, but for in and of his own is a lot of disruption. Picks coming out back and forth, but as we just see, this seems to be fights that favor Randburg Fire Department, and Zoom isn't able to get back, and we see Randburg Fire Department takes the 3-0 victory over OG.
Yeah, I don't know what I just witnessed with that Bastion. My brain is still trying to comprehend that. But I mean, we saw they tried it. They actually got a pick, but they got the res. But we just see that all of these trades, even though they seem to be going in OG's favor, sometimes that somehow Randburg Fire Department just were able to bring that back and carry on with those trades. This game has been all about trading, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, the trades back and forth have been crazy to see, and honestly, like when that happens, generally a team that's more mechanically favored does take the victory, and that is the result at the end of the day. You see Randburg Fire Department taking this victory, but I'd say overall, this is something for OG you're not upset about. Yes, you prefer to win some of those fights that you were up in them a lot of the time, but signs of life from them, and going forward into this tournament, something they can take.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously we have spoken about the picks that kept coming out of all of those team fights. So this has nothing to do with them as a team, because we saw that there were some moments of absolute brilliance where the communication was on point, the target focus was on point, the ultis that we used were perfect, like the Hanzo ult splitting the teams. But it was just unfortunate in when they weren't able to be as aggressive as they wanted to be because they lost their main tank or they lost their backline. Then unfortunately just the individual player potential of Randburg Fire Department did come out on top. But it was a very, very well played game to both teams.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think standout players from each side, but overall, if you had to look at this game, who would you say was the standout player?
I have to give it to that man. There were so many shatters. There were so many random pins. You could see he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He knew exactly how he wanted to play. And obviously we did talk in the beginning about how well versed he is in the Overwatch, just Overwatch in general. And so that is my player of the match. I have to give it to Condi tonight.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that one, honestly. He just... The amount of plays that came out from him, not something that you expect that a Reinhardt to get these random picks, but he did that, and it anchored a lot of those fights for Randburg Fire Department. He created a lot of space, especially for 20 and Aquatic to pop off, even like a Luke at times, getting those pick on that Baptiste. But I feel honorable mention has to go to Damien. He played his heart out in this game, getting those picks on Hanzo time and time again. His dragons were superb, and I think
agree.
If we're looking at a win in the favor of OG, you probably give it to him from this match.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, we can't discount every single player because both teams had some outstanding plays from both sides. But I completely agree with you. Damien played exceptionally well getting those picks. But just unfortunately, in this matchup, Randburg Fire Department did come out on top.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I can't wait to see, the matches that these two teams play in the future. Potentially, we could see Randburg Fire Department come up against Beastie Boys again, or potentially Enigma, as well as on the same end, how OG fare against those two teams. And it's a win for Randburg Fire Department, but at the end of the day, I feel like we learned a lot about these teams. And it's really great to see that. You see the different styles come out. Randburg Fire Department, while a meme team, definitely still maintaining their strength.
Yeah, completely agree. It was just, as we said, it was going to be an exciting game. Even though the scoreline shows 3-0, there were some very close moments where one or two things could have changed the whole thing, and we could have been going the length of a full series. But I'm very excited to see what happens in future with these teams, because we do know that these teams are in the higher echelon of the teams in Overwatch at the moment. And so I think moving forward, the games that they're going to be playing, it's going to be a very interesting one to see who comes out on top and which teams are going to actually end up playing each other again, and how those matches are going to end up.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just in closing, we can kind of look to see the teams and their socials. You've got OG Kintsugi, which you can find it, if I'm not mistaken, it's on Omnis_gaming. OG, a great org within esports in general. Randburg Fire Department, to my knowledge, don't have Twitter, but there are quite a number of players who are active on Twitter. Aquatic is one of those. So he's someone you can follow more kind of their updates. I guess he's Aquatic Ames. Then before we get to ourselves, we've got to shout out our producer for tonight. The Pete ZA. I think he does a great job for the community, making our lives a lot easier as casters. But he is the Peach ZA on Twitter. While it's a meme, he hasn't actually eaten a peach.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes. But anyway, I am Terran Lord. My Twitter is @TerranLord. And then Kaylee, where can we find you?
That is a very good question. I actually do not know my. I don't know my Twitter. I think it's Kales at Kales if I'm not mistaken, with a Z. I don't know. I thought I was edgy when I created that. Let's not talk about it. But yeah, that's my social. It's been a great cast. Thank you so much for being a great co-caster, and thank you so much for the teams. You guys played exceptionally well. And just a shout out to our what's the word? Sorry, a shout out to our sponsor. Thank you. Oh my goodness, my brain is like I'm still trying to process the Aquatic Bastion, but it's fine. So yeah, just a shout out to our sponsor, PC International. PC International is a South African-based laptop and PC component seller that provides the best quality IT equipment at the very best price with a price match guarantee. So if you want to check that out, just head over to pcinternational.co.za for more information.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we also go, plug in Kalza. It's ZA Overwatch on Twitter for all updates for anything Kalza. Anytime we stream any of our matches, it will be there. As well as, Raving Mad Gamers on Twitter @Raving Mad Gamers. They will also give their updates on the scoreboard each week. So keep that in mind. As well as on top of that, coming in later this evening for Kalza, for anyone who wants, there's pugs. So please do sign up. It is a great time, and I'm sure you guys will have a lot of fun. That is going to be it from us. We thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.